big freaking robots. This week, the Titans are walking. Adeptus Titanicus is finally here, and I'm super excited. I know there's a lot of salt in the sea out there over the prices, and well, this is a $110 kit, Warlord Battle Titan, consisting of 3 sprues, so it is on par with some things we've seen in the past, like the Eidolon over on the Age of Sigmar side, and some of the greater demons, of course, for Chaos. So it isn't exactly unheard of price wise, but for a game that you only need 4 to 6 miniatures currently to play at that middle bracket just above skirmish, it's a hard pill to swallow for some, and I don't blame them. I really don't. And pros, hey, you get to play with a Warlord Titan on the tabletop. Cons, well, it's $110 and you only get 2 sets of weapons, and there are other weapons which I hope are on the way. It does come with a pretty neat transfer sheet, so I'm definitely stoked about that. It'll make customizing your Legios a lot easier. So once you open this bad boy up, it's going to come with a full color instruction booklet, which isn't unlike what we saw with the actual Warlord Titan. The Warlord Titan comes with a very thick book. I have it around here. I saved it. It's gorgeous. It's just very good reference material. And flipping through it, I definitely noticed some of the similarities with how this goes together as to how the actual resin one. I put 2 of them together at this point. So 1 for contract, or 1 for commission, and 1 for myself, which, if you're a regular on our stream or on these videos, you've probably seen it right over my left shoulder. Now, this kit here is, like I said, 3 sprues. Now, to give you an idea, we are going to do an unboxing build. I'm going to show you how to magnetize this because they actually left slots in it for the magnets. This is a Dread Knight base, so we're all familiar with that one right there. Dread Knight flying stand base. Models shown at actual size. So there is a Death Guard mini. There is the size of the Warlord Titan, so it's not going to be a good Knight substitute. I can tell you that right off the bat. We've seen the pictures of it, and folks are saying that. I don't think that's a good precedent to set. Now, sprue wise, it looks great. I mean, I played Epic, I played Titanicus. Those don't have anything on the detail and the potential customizability of this right here. Now, this one is the leg sprue. It does have the 2 halves of the torso up here as well. But you can see, when you put this together, a lot of this in resin, a lot of these pieces are all separate. So it's cool to kind of see it a little bit more simplified as well. So you've got your leg sections here, and then you've got your void shield generators that you're going to go down on the back. Here's part of your hips, and the cat is eating something. Oh, what are you doing? Get out of here. Eating some plastic on the floor from the package because cats love plastic. Then you've got the hip sockets. This is going to be your affectionately called the poop deck on the back there, where it's going to have the hatch and you have some point defense weapons. There's the lance cannons that go on the back, and then there's the Mauler bolters that are going to go on the front. So it's kind of hilarious to see. That's a lance cannon, folks. So it's hilarious to see the small miniature version of them. Oh, let me show you this too before I forget. The decal sheet's pretty neat, like I said. There's also, which way does it go? There it is. There's also a better picture of it in the instruction manual that I'm going to show you here in a second. So you've got Gryphonicus, Furians, Astorum. That's what all my Titans are painted. Ataris and Mortis. And then, of course, you got general stuff up here, which, can appear all over, and the armor plating and things like that. So very cool. Next up is all your armor plating. So I definitely suggest clipping all of this off and painting all of this separate. Because you're going to paint, in most cases, you're going to paint the Titan itself a metal kind of color. And then these are all going to be very colorful plates. And, you've got some space here where you can tape it off and do some sectional, left and right kind of yin and yang paint schemes if you want. But this is the sprue that you're probably not gonna glue stuff down to. And then we come to the weapon sprue, which I'm definitely hopeful for, because if you notice, all of these, well, I've already done research on it, but hey, look at that, guys. All of the weapons are contained, and the head, 2 different alternate heads here, are contained on this, and that's it. So, and you've got some armor plates that go on the side of the Bellicoso volcano cannons that you probably should paint separate. Again, you're going to want to paint them that armor color, but everything else can be metal except for maybe the head and such. But this is what's cool is they can come out with upgrade sprues, because we haven't seen, you know, the linked turbo lasers. There's a linked bolt, some sort of bolt option that I've never heard of. Obviously, Forge World doesn't even make it yet. That are both listed as war gear cards. So in the future, I could see where they make an extra upgrade sprue, or they put out another kit, and the only thing that's different about that kit is that it comes with a different weapon sprue, right? So I definitely would look for that in the future, because it seems like they're already kind of setting it up for that. Like, hey, this is the Bellicoso along with the Tempest launchers and, you know, these heads, and then you'll have one that come out with some different heads right there. And of course, we may actually see, everybody talks about the Imperator, but there's no reason why we couldn't see the Imperator finally hit the tabletop in this scale, because it'd be a lot easier to do it in plastic than it would be when this in resin costs roughly $3,000 US. You know, they've effectively priced the Imperator out, I don't know, into a very elite bracket. Let's just leave it at that, right? So here's how it all goes together. Here's the legs, the hips, the torsos, everything here. I was talking about the sockets, and then it looks like it builds onto some piston joints right there, which normally are kind of different. So it seems like in theory that it's going to lock together and you're going to have to position it a certain way, but this is going to be an unboxing build, so I will tell you right there if that is the case. And then there's the poop deck on the back, and then your interior section here. And this is true to the resin one, folks. It looks like it's a ton of resin, but actually the top torso section is actually hollow, just like this on the inside. There is no interior detail except for the cockpit, which that isn't it. But yeah, this all pretty much goes together just like the resin version, although these are quite bigger pieces. And then you get to the armor plates, which it looks like there's a set of 3 different armor plates, which is pretty cool. And then these look to be not free moving. I was kind of hoping that those would be free moving, but it does not look like you can spin the little last cannon point defense and such around. 2 different eyes on the Warlord face, and we know there's 2 different Warlord faces as well. Oh, is there a little cockpit you can see into? Nope. So no interior detail whatsoever at this point. And then the Bellicoso volcano cannons, and that's it. I would definitely recommend, if you can, and I know there's slots in here for magnets. I saw them at some point. I think it's these right here, but these are not, but we'll find out when we get it together. Yeah, it's going to be something in this interface right here, because this is the parts that you get on that one weapon sprue, and these come with the Titan itself. So we'll dig into it. I know there's a way to magnetize this beast, so don't glue anything down. Don't stop here and glue all your stuff down. Keep going, keep watching, because I'll be right back, and we're going to magnetize this beast. Okay, so I got the legs put together here, and I didn't realize they're actually 100% posable. Like, you can lock in the thighs into the pistons here, but then they actually go in to this piece right here any way you want. So you don't have to be matching up pistons and stuff like that. So kind of plan out how you want your legs to go, because they pivot right here in the middle, and follow the instructions explicitly, because these pistons, actually specific ones, go into the specific holes. Now that being said, did a bunch of dry fitting, got one of our shattered terrace bases here from Elric's Hobbies, and I kind of locked it in to where I thought it would go and tried to maintain this top as level as possible. It looks like it's high enough that we don't have to worry about using a magnet or anything right there, but that's just my hypothesis at this point. So we've got it so it's like kind of stepping up over this little slight kind of rise in the base itself right here. So it's got a little bit of an action pose, but I actually test fitted some of the armor plates, which we're going to leave off for the most part and do them, paint them separately. So this is almost the very edge of where that armor plate could even be. So make sure you dry fit before you start gluing, which is actually easy to glue because you can just put a little bit of glue into here. But then once you get them locked into the hips, it's easy to glue down into the feet. So this worked just fine. And then we dry fit our top plates right here, which go on pretty easily as well. And that all, well, I assure you they were, yeah, that all just locks in right there and looks just fine. So it doesn't look like they skipped the legs day. Now the one other little piece you need to be aware of that you do need to dry fit just to make sure you get that good range of motion are these little kind of armored, the armor covers for the pistons down here. and those are just going to go just like that. But I left mine off because I'm actually going to paint them separate as well. But you just got to go through and double check that all of them will lock in. And once you do, then you can get the final glues and you should be good to go. But as long as you don't kind of go past about this point in the legs, you should be just fine as far as everything fitting together. Next up is the torso itself, and like we said, it is hollow on the inside. You can literally see right into it. So I wanted to, as you can see, I blue tacked the armored plates on there because I wanted to get a good weight so I could figure out exactly where to glue, to add some glue to the knee joints right here, so we get the correct support from our legs right here of this thing kind of going up over the little base, sort of. So it's a little bit more of an action pose, and it looks like you don't really have to magnetize the top, which is good. But I know there's going to be some magnet opportunities coming up here when I get to the weapon systems. And the head itself, you can choose from 2 different ones, and we're going to leave that off as well to paint separately. And on to the weapons. And what I really like about this that Games Workshop has done is that sprue I showed you earlier that I was like, hey, remember, or maybe they will make this so that you can buy an extra sprue or put on another kit that will have all the stuff you need for another set of weapons. And included in that same sprue is this little mount right here, which is the arm weapon mount. So you take this, and actually this one you glues on together right here at the top, and as long as you keep the glue from kind of coming down into here, these are actually posable now, which is really neat. So once you glue this in to this spot right here, and then of course you can pivot it however you want so that it can kind of go left or go right on the Titan. And then once you get it glued in there, it's going to be able to swivel. But before we get to that point, because I just kind of left it loose, let's talk about magnets, because this actually comes on that sprue, which leads me to believe that any future expansion sprues that Games Workshop does will have an extra one of these for the weapon. So it's okay to glue this in permanent, and then this is where we're going to put a magnet, and it is recessed. I checked it all out. Apparently it is a 5mm by 1mm slot right there, and then it's going to go right up into there, and there's your other 5mm by 1mm slot. Now of course that is metric, so here in the States, where I would say half of our viewing audience lives, we're like, metric, what? So we converted it over. It's 3/16. If you want to round that up to the nearest 1/32, it's 6/32. So it's 3/16 in diameter by 1/32 in depth, and that'll keep you perfectly flush right there. They're pretty small magnets that had a grip of them. Okay, they are right here. They're pretty small magnets, so you can see right there, very, very small magnets, but they're gonna lock in there. And the same thing for your top weapon system right here, and it's gonna also go, see this recess right here on the top? That same magnet's gonna fit in right there. So we're just gonna go ahead and get those mounted and see if they are indeed strong enough to hold these weapons in place. So we got our magnets locked in, all good to go. Again, just using a bunch of poster tack to try to attach everything. But here you can see it looks just marvelous. I'm very impressed. This isn't one of my, I don't even know if this is going to be on my top 10 favorite models out there, but it's definitely very well thought out by Games Workshop, and definitely a treat. Going to be a treat on the tabletop for a lot of the folks out there playing Titanicus. Now, a couple of things real quick that you need to be aware. First off, it's about the size of a Dread Knight. It's probably actually a little shorter than a Dread Knight. This is, like we showed you earlier, there's your Death Guard duder, so barely comes up to the kneecap right there. And of course, as you start going up in scale, you know, a Leviathan isn't quite as big as this, but probably a Telemon Dreadnought would be very close to about the same size as this. A Dread Knight probably with the missiles as tall as they are. Now, a couple things you can do to really customize your Titan here. This bottom piece actually doesn't have to attach. So let me grab a spot that isn't blue tacked on. So if you want to do something like LED lights or something like that, you can actually leave that off and kind of rig it up in there and have a switch or something like that perhaps. Now, the magnets are a great idea for customizing your Warlord for sure, and with, you know, whatever future weapons might come out here. Now, remember, like I said, you can adjust the gun itself up and down. I wouldn't recommend it after the magnets. It tends to be a little tight to adjust it while it's attached right there, but you can definitely get some really neat poses going. And then once you settle on a particular pose for your Warlord, then you can kind of figure out where exactly to put them in relation to the posing. So this one should probably be up and firing over towards the right of the screen, but the model's left. And then last but certainly not least, the magnets on top, future-proofed these up here to at least 2 other weapon systems that come in the set that you can use. Now, strategy-wise, believe it or not, the missiles are actually very important because they can pepper enemy Titans to try to drop their void shields before delivering the killing blow. Well, maybe a couple of killing blows. It takes more than one shot generally with a volcano cannon to drop a Warlord Titan. But that being said, you never know. Things get crazy sometimes, and the advanced rules definitely take it up to the next level as far as combat goes. Not all the armor plates are attached on here. You can see the ones on the side, and the heraldry pads are also not attached. But just because it will make it way easier to paint all of those things separately and then glue them on to a painted metal superstructure. So that is about it. That is everything I can tell you about the Warlord Titan from my personal experience. It takes about just as long to put this bad boy together as it does a Knight Titan, believe it or not. So you're looking between clipping them all off, shaving all the flash down, and putting it all together and magnetizing it, about 3 to 4 hours of prep time right there. So no little undertaking, so to speak. You could almost say it's a Titanic undertaking to put one of these together. So that's it for this one. We're gonna head on out of here and get this bad boy on the tabletop and go pew some other Titans across the board. If you like these type of features here on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.